participating in marches or public awareness campaigns, or have taken part in small and large group discussions about inequality, injustice, and profiling. And some of that has taken place in a number of different town hall meetings across the campus of the University of Cincinnati, as you would expect at an institution of higher learning. Here on our campus, just a few weeks ago, President Obama's task force also held hearings in UC with a number of individuals from the federal government coming to the University of Cincinnati to have similar conversations of what will take place today. At the University of Cincinnati, I have, as president, offered seed grant funding to faculty members, students, and staff, and I'm seeking proposals through a process from faculty, staff, and students to develop projects that would generate knowledge, strategies for change and substantive civil discourse about policing and the community. Examples of the projects might include research assistance to our faculty and students, manuscript development, colloquia, invited speakers, additional programming, performances, external speakers, exhibitions, films, and awareness campaigns. Universities ought to be the place where these sorts of conversations take place. The University of Cincinnati is very proud to have one of the top-ranked criminal justice programs in the nation, and also a faculty of law that is focused on these issues. And if we can be of any help to this city, to this state, and to this nation to move to a better place, the University of Cincinnati is all in. I want to commend Governor Kasich and the state of Ohio for being willing to examine this challenging issue. And I hope that this discussion today and moving into the future will be a fruitful one. Thanks again to all of you, the task force, for being here today, for volunteering your time to have this important conversation and to address this profoundly important issue. And with that, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to the podium President Odell Owens, who is currently president of Cincinnati State, a partner of mine in terms of higher education. He served on the University of Cincinnati Board of Trustees from 1989 to 1998, and also as chair of the Board of Trustees of this institution. And following that, prior to assuming the presidency of Cincinnati State, he served as coroner in the city of Cincinnati from 2004 to 2010. Odell Owens.
It's hard to come up with another welcome after that great one by President Nono. But let me just say first, I want to thank the Commission for you to take your time out to see so many of you here in our wonderful city of Cincinnati. It's just great. I mean, what you're doing is not just setting the stage for now, but what you're doing is setting the stage for those who are yet to be born. Your work is going to change the city and hopefully change the state. And I appreciate the audience. I understand with more people in the audience, when we can have an opportunity to dialogue, we get an opportunity to share with the experts, and people will make the recommendation back to the governor. How great that is. And Cincinnati has been ahead again to start that conversation. We've been very fortunate that we have a police chief who gets out in the community. Just last Friday at my school, just last Friday, the police chief was there with his officers. They brought a group of inner city kids to start basketball. Why? And we know keeping kids off the street, keeping them occupied is going to help. But it's more than just basketball. It's also sharing a way of life. And I can say from my experience as the coroner, and that's an important role. That during the time I was a coroner, we never had a problem in Cincinnati because as a coroner, I took those type of incidents, police shootings, death in police custody, and we make that a priority. We got the information out the next day. Good, honest, fair information, accurate information out. I will never forget the incident where a man was arrested, put in the back of a police car, and the officer had a suspicion that he might have swallowed some cocaine. And on the police tape, he begged the guy, did you swallow anything? Please tell me, I'll take you to the hospital. Please tell me, please tell me. Man didn't say anything, and he died in the car. People were upset. The next day, we done the autopsy, got the toxicology back, and I stood there and showed people on TV the bags of cocaine taken out of that man's stomach. And that calmed people down. Good information, honest information, and a trusted coroner's office plays a big role in helping that dialogue. So again, I'm going to welcome you to Cincinnati. Cincinnati State, we're a small school with 1,800 students. We only have 500 faculty, but we give people that second, third, and fourth chance every American.
Thank you, doctors. We're also joined here by the Assistant Chief Whalen from Cincinnati Police Department and also Chief Blackwell. Chief, would you like to say a few opening remarks or just wait? Thank you both so much for being here. We really appreciate it. At this point, what I'd like to do is ask the task force members to briefly introduce themselves before we begin the first presentation. So if we start on my far right at the end of the table, Ms. Andrews.
Phil Cole, Executive Director of the Iowa Association of Community Action Agencies. I'm representing our 50 members who cover all 88 counties of Ohio to help people fight the causes of infection poverty.
Damon Lynch, local pastor here in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Senator Coach Height, 1st Senate District, and on the same street as Cincinnati, I-75.
Andre Porter, and serve as the Director of the Ohio Department of Commerce.
Okay. State Representative Alicia Reese, and I want to welcome you to my district known as the Fighting 33rd. And certainly excited that everyone is here, and want to thank the task force for being here, the decision makers who have a big task ahead of us.
My name is Anthony Munoz, retired NFL football player of the Cincinnati Bengals, a resident of this great community. And I just have to say one thing, that I'm honored and humbled to be on this task force. You have to understand, our first forum was in Cleveland, so I was very quiet. But this one, all I have to say is hooday.
You have your Cincinnati group right here. I'm Amy Murray. I'm a member of Cincinnati City Council, and I'm on the task force representing the municipalities of Ohio. So for the task force members, welcome to Cincinnati. We are glad that you are here, and thanks to our police and staff from City Hall that are here today also.
I'm Ronnie Dunn, Professor of Urban Studies at Cleveland State University, and Mr. Munoz, you could have been as vocal as you please, wherever you please.
My name is Bernie Marino. I'm a business owner here in the Cincinnati area and also a business owner in Cleveland, and sit on the board of the Cleveland Foundation. So from a business and philanthropy perspective, this topic is very, very important.
Detective Brian Armstead. I'm a detective with the City of Akron Police Department. I'm here representing the Fraternal Order of Police Ohio.
Thank you. My name is Ron O'Brien. I'm a county prosecutor in Franklin County, Ohio, which is the capital in Columbus, and I'm on the task force representing the other 87 county prosecutors across the state.
Good evening. I'm Sheriff Stanforth of Fayette County, just north of here. I also serve representing the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association on this task force. I'm the chairman of the Ohio Peace Officer Training Commission and a father of a son that will soon become a Cincinnati resident, probably within the week. So, vested interest in this town.
And good afternoon. I'm Nina Turner. I'm one of the co-chairs along with Director Bourne. It's such a pleasure to be here in Representative Ruth's backyard. It's fabulous to be here for this occasion of the community, all of us coming together to make sure that we deal with the issues that are plaguing us and coming together in such a way that causes a positive result. And I'll talk a little bit more about how the task force was formed right before we get to the public comment period. But really glad to be here and to be of service in this way.
Thank you to the task force members and Senator Turner. Just to remind everyone, the executive order as well as the purpose of the task force should be outlined in the programs, as well as each of the task force members. If you just walked in, would like to learn more about them. The purpose of this public forum today, though, is for the task Superintendent of the Chicago Police Department, Superintendent McCarthy. Will you please join us?
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here. That's a Bronx accent that you hear. I'm a transplant to the city of Chicago recently, about 4 years ago. So if I'm speaking too fast, it may be because I'm from New York, but it's also because I actually have a lot to say. So forgive me for that. By way of introduction, I spent 25 years in the New York City Police Department. I retired as the Deputy Commissioner of Operations for the NYPD in 2006, and at that point I took over the Newark, New Jersey Police Department, where I worked for about 5.5 years, and now I've been in the city of Chicago for the last 4. I'm also, along with Chief Blackwell, a member of something known as Major City Chiefs, and I'm also the first Vice President of Major City Chiefs. And what I'd like to do is share not only my perspectives, but certainly the perspective that Jeff and I hear when we sit around the table as to where we are in policing today and what we could do to improve what's happening on the streets. And I've got to tell you, I can say with great certainty that we have certainly wrapped ourselves around the axle. Over the last few years, some things that have happened have obviously caused distress in some communities, but at the end of the day, something that I haven't heard discussed nationally is how do we reverse 300 years of history in this country? If we think that we're going to repair police-community relations in the short term, it has to start with the recognition of how we got here. Now, I'm a big history buff. I love history. I love studying history. And the fact of the matter is, the experience of the African-American community in this country has been one of racism, institutionalized racism, that was enforced by the white police officer. Now, if you think about it, and we're in the great state of Ohio, so I know everybody here has read Michelle Alexander's book. If you look at the experience from slavery to black codes, to segregation, to Jim Crow, at the end of the day, it was us. We just came out of the 50-year anniversary of Selma. And who was it who was clashing with those protesters on the bridge? As a result of this, there is a narrative that exists in this community of distrust that goes a lot deeper than a recent incident or a number of recent incidents. And that's the perspective that we need to come to the table to speak about. Because I'm a big believer in the first step towards redemption is recognition. And we have to recognize that we make mistakes. We're human, we make mistakes. We also hurt ourselves. The harm that we've done in policing in the city of Chicago, there's a commander named John Burge, who years ago, back in the 80s and the 90s, was torturing confessions and getting murder convictions as a result. It's a well-earned reputation that policing has earned in this country. And we have to start the conversation in that fashion. We're too defensive, and we need to address this. We have to acknowledge the past mistakes if we're going to move forward. Now, having said that, I can tell you that we can do a lot better in policing. We could definitely do a lot better. But what I also want to point out is that I believe, and this is my own personal opinion, so I want to make that clear, is that many of the issues that have arisen recently are the result of deeper social, economic, and political issues, which become exacerbated by a police incident that may spark some sort of outrage and upset, as we saw in Ferguson, right? As we all saw in Ferguson. The term legal cynicism, and forgive me for doing this, but I'm going to give you a definition of it. Legal cynicism refers to a cultural orientation in which the law and the agents of its enforcement are viewed as illegitimate, unresponsive, and ill-equipped to ensure public safety. If you're not familiar with the term, it's actually a little bit deeper than that. but that's a broad brush definition of legal cynicism. And what happens is, in cases where a disadvantaged community, which is rife with crime and narcotics and social conditions, poverty, joblessness, lack of education, breakup of the family unit, those disadvantaged communities see law enforcement as the most visible arm of the system. And as a result, it gets turned on, what is it that the police are going to do about this issue? Now, I'm not being defensive here. What I'm pointing out is that if you think about it, we have a systematic problem, which runs a heck of a lot deeper than fixing police-community relations, which is going to be a big lift. Now, as President Ono mentioned, last month, the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing was here